Good morning.
Good morning.
But yeah, Moz. It's good, man.
Well, just in terms of
Yeah.
SEO, I was trying to learn a lot more about it. When I first started out
Yeah.
this business thing, and so I was like kind of studying
This
it
business thing.
actively. This whatever I don't know what to call this. It's just
It's a company. It's a business. I don't know.
like the moment where I left my job and started trying to
About then? Yeah.
make
Okay. That
content.
makes sense. Yeah.
Anyway, I was focused on actively studying like SEO and trying to learn about
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
And studying, and then I got into the tools and I was playing with those, and it was really interesting, and I learned a lot from it,
Yeah.
and actually helped inform a few things I did with Here
Yeah.
Be Taverns and like a few targeted keywords and things like that. But since then, like I've learned enough to discover that like it really is a pretty targeted sort of strategic thing you can work on
Yeah.
every week.
Yeah.
The problem is I don't have a thing to focus it around. And
Oh
this is
yeah. Right.
actually a
Yeah.
recurring problem for me. Is a
Yeah.
lot of the advice out there on being an early stage business
Yeah.
presume all the tactics, strategies, things you do, they all presume you have a revenue stream or like a service or a product you're trying to sell.
Yeah.
And because I'm pre-revenue,
Yeah.
pre-product or whatever you would call that, those tactics are all valuable to know, but they don't
Yeah.
apply to me, I think, quite yet. And
Yeah.
when it comes to SEO, was my realization. I was getting a little worried and caught up in doing it and starting it, and I really want this. But if you're not channeling all that like keyword
Yeah.
research towards a specific outcome, you're kind of just sending a lot of energy
Oh
in
yeah.
different directions. So
It it
you're
reminds me
right.
of
It makes no sense. I can't really do it yet.
yeah, it also just reminds me of analysis paralysis type things. Like, we've talked about this on the podcast. We're both, I guess, suckers for theory, and we love learning, and like,
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I'm
Yeah.
way
So
too.
like, give me Moz, and suddenly I can search trends, and like, I would just explore
Yeah,
that all day.
it's
I'd
fun.
feel these elative moments. I'd probably get dopamine hits when I like
Sure.
uncovered a cool opportunity. But
Yeah.
then at the end of the day, when you'd sit down and be like, well, how does this help my company? It's like zero ways. Like,
Well, yeah,
unless I now wish to foray into this like
right.
thing I discovered or
Yeah.
whatever, but it's not. Yeah.
And I will say it did actually have that effect one time, and that surprised me. I wasn't expecting to get that out of a tool like that, but
Yeah.
there's like in one keyword set, there was an idea there for like a whole business. I'm like that.
Yeah, right.
That keyword could be like a
Yeah.
product
Yeah.
because I searched and it's not really.
Yeah.
Like I could do better than all of these.
Yeah.
So it was cool for idea discovery like that
Yeah.
way more than I expected.
That's really cool.
But yeah, my current thinking is SEO is really important, and
Yes.
it is a channel I really want to invest in.
Yeah.
But putting like multiple hours a week on it, focused and like starting to really do like the method,
Yeah.
can't happen until I'm trying to really sell something, and I know what I'm
Yeah.
trying to sell.
I mean, yeah,
This was the advice I got actually from Chris Gimmer as well.
Oh, cool.
And
Yeah.
he helped me sort of realize that. Like he was saying, like when you're starting out, it matters much more to just have like one or two pages ranking
Yeah.
rather than a bunch of content that isn't ranking. You
Yeah.
really want to focus on getting something ranking, just
Yeah.
a couple things. And importantly, those things that are ranking need to affect your bottom line, basically.
Yeah. Yeah.
It made so much sense to me. I'm like, yeah, of course. Like, so once I have a thing that will set this bottom line, I can
Yeah.
be strategic, use the tool, figure out like the keywords to try,
Yeah.
and really try to rank a couple things to channel towards that.
Yeah. I mean, definitely. Like this happens in every other aspect of a company too. People like even just investment, like people take funding too early and they don't actually have a direction they're going in. Like you can't pour gasoline onto the theoretical flywheel
Right.
if you have no flywheel.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like, you're like, I'm doing all this growth optimizations, like growth for what? Like, there's
Right.
no-
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
That's the thing. The growth is
It's kind of how I feel about social media too, which you've talked about.
exactly.
It's like,
I'm working on
like
growth
making an
for
account.
this company I have,
Wow.
but I don't have like a revenue stream, so it's kind of it's untargeted. It's
yeah.
just a waste of energy, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's like I just need to get 10 super fans. I need 10 diehard users and customers, like whatever, being like, this thing rocks. And then I'll be like, oh, okay, maybe I have product market fit. Then I might worry about like mass distribution, whatever.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
That being said, I do believe in creating content on the internet.
Yes.
But I think of that, it's obviously related to SEO, and it's like distribution and helping people find you. But when all the stuff I was just talking about not doing right now is more of the sort of strategic, repeatable process, like driven by some tool where you're like targeting a keyword and like iterate. Like that's the thing I'm not doing.
Yeah.
But just creating content and putting it out there, I'm still all for that. It's just I can't let it become all I'm doing necessarily. But
like
writing a consistent newsletter once every couple weeks and adding a new creature every couple weeks onto Novus Bestiary.
Yep.
And like every now and then when it makes sense, like a blog post. I'm just not being like too strategic with them. I'm just putting myself out there and starting to build this library.
Yeah.
See what surprises come out of that.
Yeah, but I mean, you have a current audience, so that makes sense. You need to stay in touch with your audience, otherwise you'll like lose them over time, like all sorts of other things. But yeah, like I don't know. I like SEO. When you sent me the Patrick McKenzie writing from Calzamius, I think it is. It was great. It's just like understand these principles, and there's something to be said about buying a like best in class or industry leading tool in an area you don't totally understand, because just when you go in and you watch it onboard you or point you in directions or you see the feature sets, actually teaches you about, in my opinion, it'll teach you like about the techniques that other people are using. I do that with like a lot of growth marketing tools. You know, you like pay them for 1 month and just see what flows they're trying to get you to do. And I'm like, oh, that's what growth marketers are doing. Because in theory,
right.
In theory, if they're the leading best in class, they probably deeply research this. They're making all this money. Like they know what the best, like Moz knows. If you're SEO and SEM, like they probably know what you're supposed to be doing. So if you just follow their flow, it's like, oh, they do that. Like that's called like building or whatever. Right. But yeah, that's helped me a lot. Like there's tools now to like try and grow Twitter following. And anyway, Twitter did a great job of stopping a lot of those automated tools back in the day. Like when people like, you know, we're trying to get like 100,000 followers and all this other stuff by like fixing their API, by monitoring things, by like shadow banning you, though they publicly say they don't, they do. And there's tools to check, and it's really funny. And it's kind of like one of these weird things. But now that the tools are coming back around because they found new ways to like pseudo automate stuff for you. So if you've noticed, there's a ton of people now that doing the follow back strategies. So I get spammed with followers, and then when you click on them, you'll notice they're no longer following you because all they do is follow you and unfollow immediately, just so that you get the notifications that you theoretically, theoretically you follow them back, and they're like growing, and they just keep running these cycles where they do mass follow and unfollows. Anyway, this is a total tangent, but I just found it really funny.
I still don't know how I feel about Twitter followers, like how
it's kind of irrelevant,
useful that is. Yeah.
Yeah, if you have like every day of the week, I'd take 500 people who follow me who are like bought in and care, then I would take 50,000 who just like follow me. Like it, like why would I? Like it's not.
Well, that I completely agree with.
There we go.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And this is what I see. This is actually really rampant in the RPG industry, which I am a part of.
Yeah.
Because I have two Twitters, right? And one is like tech person world, tech Twitter, I guess. And one is RPG Twitter.
Yep.
And in RPG Twitter, it's they have a few strange patterns that I don't really see as much on the tech side. But one of them is this constant, there's constantly these I guess you'd think of them as gimmicks.
Okay, sure.
To increase follower count.
Yeah.
So one that's really super popular is giveaways.
Oh yeah.
Everyone does a giveaway all the time. And it's like, we're going to give away this thing. The rules for entry are like, retweet this, start following me, and blah, blah blah
Yeah,
blah.
the classic. Yep.
Yeah. Some people go further. They're like, retweet, subscribe to me on YouTube, and like join my email. Like they're just saying like it's very transactional. It's like I'm
Yep.
gonna give you something free, maybe,
Yeah.
if you subscribe and follow and like get
Yep.
these metrics up.
Yep.
And I tried it once. I was curious. I'm gonna try this. It flopped for me, but I'm kind of glad it did, because the more I see that and think about it, the more I personally just don't like it. I'm like,
Yeah.
what's the kind of value or quality of this audience here?
Well,
You're
but I mean, this
constantly
is
generating with like free
Yeah.
giveaways.
like that. It always comes back down to like we just said it earlier. Like it's a technique, but you should never use it unless you know what you're selling and like how that technique and doing that thing applies to you. Like the ones that I see doing these crazy things right now are mostly people trying to build their like YouTube following, and the number of subscribers you have is directly related. It's like causation to like your income level through advertising on YouTube.
Right.
So every
That's a
YouTube
pretty
creator,
straightforward.
they're like, I legit will buy followers. I will buy subs, and then I make more money because I have more subs. It's just straight up the easiest way for the
Right.
ad world to be
The-
like,
the
oh,
math.
1 million subs, like you have reach, and therefore you are worth this cost
Yeah.
per 1,000 CPM, like
Right.
whatever.
Right.
So fine. But like I tell people this all the time, like, you know, if you're a Twitch streamer, I actually had this conversation with one of our mutual friends. And it's like, yeah, you're a Twitch streamer. It's like, but consider your product avenues. Like, what are you actually trying to sell? Are you trying to become a famous Twitch streamer like a la Ninja, where now you get all these like, you know, ad things basically, like promo, whatever you make millions, you know, whatever.
Sponsorship.
Go get followers. That's important. Like acquire
Right.
followers. And maybe they'll sub to you and there's all these money making things. It's like, but the other side was, but if you want to like kind of create this like software product or content product on the side for your community, then you need 100 diehard fans who like pay you like $50 or whatever for like this amazing thing you make. And that's way more valuable than getting like what 2,000 follows. And through giveaways, I mean, at least half of the people who will follow you is like garbage traffic, basically. They just want free stuff.
Yeah, that's what I can't help but
Every time.
feel like,
I've tested it in subreddits. Like I have a subscription to this game service called Humble Bundle. So like every month they like you pay like $12 and they give you like 10 games or something, because I've been on it for really long. I think it's like 10 or 13 games. I only ever really want one per month that I'll actually reasonably be like, I'm going to try or play that.
Yeah.
But it's always the value of that game is more than the $12. So for me, it's always like a deal. I'm always
Still a
getting
deal.
a game, like at least one that I like, sometimes 2 to 3, like a rare months. And then the rest, they let you do giveaways. Like you could just like get a code and give it to your friend. So I just like give it to my friends. Anyway, there's a subreddit where you can just give away video game codes called Random Acts of Gaming. And I have like 200 game codes that I've never used because they're games I'm never going to play or I already own them or whatever. And I tried to go there and do this giveaway, and it just like, it was like nightmarish. I thought I was just doing a nice thing. I was like, oh, I'll just like whatever. But they have these rules because you got to kind of randomize it and stuff.
Sure.
And like, it was weird, man. I got so many DMs and like just weird stuff from people like, just give me that, like this, that. It's like just like this act of what I thought was going to be nice. Like, I'm like, I have like 200 games. Like, just take them. Like, turned into like work. Like, I gave away games by using a randomizer, and people like got mad. So I had to like get proof. So like I went back and like pulled the thing to prove that I did a randomization and things, and it was just like, whoa, like it was just so weird. I was like, I'm just trying to give away games.
Yeah.
Like what?
Yeah. I really like this sort of through line actually between our SEO conversation and now our follower
social media
gaming
thing,
conversation.
Yeah.
And the through line is really understand what your business actually is, right?
Yeah.
Before you just apply tactics that you see other people doing. I guess that's cargo culting. Don't cargo cult, right?
Yeah, don't do that.
It's not, it makes no sense. There was actually recently I came across an article from Jason Fried.
Oh, yeah.
And it was great. He's such a good writer.
Yeah.
It was pretty short and sweet and to the point, but it was so well said, and it was like people keep saying all these ridiculous things about their email service, hey.com, right?
Oh yeah.
And it's all like, well, what are you doing? Like, how are you going to possibly compete with Gmail?
Right.
And it's like, you don't understand. Like, Gmail's business is fundamentally different than ours, right?
Yep. Yep.
Gmail has to have like 10 million users because
Yep.
that's what the only way it works. That's how that business works for Google, right?
Yep.
That's the point. Like, we don't have to have 10 million subscribers because that's not how our business works at all, right?
Correct.
Like, the math and the structure of the system,
Yep.
the actual outcome they want and need to achieve to have a growing, profitable business and pay their employees, it's just the math of that is so completely different. It might as well be a different game. And I think you might have even said that. It's like, we're playing a different game. Like, it's not even close, right? So comparing, just because they're both email services, trying to compare those businesses and say like you're screwed makes no sense, right?
Yeah.
And so it's a good way of thinking.
I've gone through it with like a million
you're thinking,
yeah, like with multiple Twitch streamers when we were like testing that product Hadron, project name Hadron at our company Dignify.
Yeah, what was that quickly? Can you just summarize it? Elevator pitch?
Yeah, basically giving creators growth marketing tools. Okay. So like the like helping content creators and stuff like that in the passion economy. But we were starting with like streamers because all we really learned was like there's a lot of really good streamers with great personalities who are really talented at video games, whatever their thing. But they don't apply any of these this business sense in terms of just like marketing, period. They don't really know how to do it. Kind of what we were just talking about. They like make a social media account and they're like, is this marketing? And like, they don't really, do ideal customer profiles, whatever. So we're trying to build a tool to help automate that and they would pay us money. It was great. So we did tons of interviews, but most of them just straight up didn't understand what they were selling. All they understood was, I try to make a great stream and I try to make sure that the people that show up have a good time. And I was like, that's cool. Like you're a media business then. And they're like, well, what does that mean? And I'm like, well, if that's like, you need followers and you need to grow your thing. And then eventually you can like get advertising revenue or whatever. And they were like, oh, is that how that works? And you're like, yeah. Or do you want to do something else? And like a lot of them were just totally misaligned. Like some of them were similar to our friend who like wanted to build, or they had like a website on the side that sold products that they like make. And on stream, they like make these like, one of them was like miniatures. So they would like 3D print them, paint them, and like do all this stuff. And they were selling them on Etsy. And at no point ever in their entire chat did they ever link to their like Etsy store, for example. And it was just like, what are you doing? They're like, well, I'm trying to grow my following. It's like, okay, but like, you should probably tell them that you sell something. Like, like,
are you trying to grow your following?
But like, why? Yeah, exactly. And they're like, well, you just need more followers. And I'm like, but do you? Like, do you know? Anyway, it's just really cool. Like, I take for granted, I guess, how we think because of the careers we've had. So it's like, this is just, there's a business model.
Like
there's
we have some of those nuances. I'm still lacking,
but I'm like,
I'm
still on
of them. But
oh my god, dude, I'm an idiot by all stretches of the imagination. I know nothing, Jon Snow. Anyway, but I'm still thinking about what you said earlier, which is there's tons of content on tactics and things and all this stuff to do, but it's kind of presumes you have a product.
It almost all does. That's the thing I've really noticed.
But the dearth, that area of like, you want to do something, but you don't know what it is. Like you don't even have an idea yet. Mm-hmm. That is such a cool area. And I mean, that's why we were trying to do with Null to Zero, like the podcast. But I think there is so much room there for like content, community.
I think you're right.
Like,
I haven't found very much around it.
Like it was kind of indie hackers like way back, but I think they pivoted because they realized that it was like a tough market to find.
Yeah.
And like they kind of grew into this other thing, which was like, side gig turns into main gig, turns into like you're making all this money. Like that was kind of like, it was kind of like it's like the micro
indie hackers
kind of
I don't know, man. It seemed so cool at first for me, and I checked it out, and there's definitely like incredible stuff on there. I found a few posts there that have been so valuable.
Oh my god, yeah.
But I don't really go anymore. It's like I found that it's all about, it just became yet another, it seems
marketing
it seems to become yet another platform that people are gaming, or like they've figured out, okay, here's just another place for me to go and market myself. So like every single post, it's like all about like the really clickbaity titles.
Yeah.
Everything has to be about like how you're making a lot of money. Like
Yeah.
the more dollar signs you put in the post title, the better.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's just the sense of that community I get now, and it's too bad because I'm sure that not everyone in there is like that. But I guess it
No,
grew to
yeah.
that point, and it's like
Yeah.
everyone's just begging for attention on the internet, right? So it's like
For sure.
I'm not
I
mad
mean-
about it. I guess I'm just sad about it. It's like
Well,
this
same.
this could have been a really cool
Yeah.
community
my
for
entry-
someone like me. I could really use a community like to help me through
Yeah.
this weird
Yeah.
period I'm in, right?
Yeah, but like this is what happens is people basically unbundle it and they start doing it again because like MakerPad was super cool for that, like no code kind of tools. Like it sort of became the like no code entrepreneur area of indie hackers, like almost like a split off. And then there's a few other ones that are like remote only or something.
Right.
I forget the name of it, but it's like you basically just say like I'm a remote like solo or like small team crew, and like they like have a whole community just like post like what's up, what's happening.
Yeah.
But yeah, they all seem to fall victim to the same sort of cycle as like they start to achieve, you know, I guess mass market adoption. So they go to like the early majority or even the late majority, and then they just start adapting for like the one size fits all because it serves their business model. Because that's what I wonder about too, right? Like indie hackers, like what are they actually selling? And it's your attention mostly.
Yeah, good question. I
Like, I can't sign up for I don't know. Actually, I should look, but like,
well, it was acquired by Stripe.
Yep.
Like Stripe owns it.
I think it's because they bought a community, and then like that's happening everywhere. Everyone's buying communities. Like MakerPad just got bought by Zapier.
Yeah, you have all these people and their attention, like sitting there.
Buying community is like the way
looking
you're
for
basically
answers.
guaranteeing your
Please.
distribution.
Someone help me with my problems.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
It'd be cool though. Like
makes sense.
I don't know. I'm always looking for groups, and now I'm making my own too with open agencies. Like it's like I had a hard time finding just like agency owners who believe in positive sum. Like that was it. Like so many owners I talk to are kind of like me. They become the salesperson because like they start running the company and it's like, oh, I got to do sales.
Right.
And then they become very zero sum thinkers. They're like, well, if I don't get the deal, he got the deal,
Someone
and
else got it.
therefore that's it. Like that's the thing. And yet I'm like, but there's so many deals in the world, we couldn't possibly fill the demand.
absolutely.
That's my
Infinite.
belief.
It's like
So
infinite,
it's an infinite thing. Yeah. So it's
everyone's trying to cobble together software companies.
yeah. So
Left,
all the
right,
time.
center.
Yeah. I keep trying to do this, and agencies are weirdly being acquired right now. Like TWG here
Why?
in Toronto got
Is it
acquired by
Is
Deloitte.
it talent acquisition? Yeah.
Yeah. Straight up.
It's-
Like agencies are great, right? You have a
The
sharp
talent-
talent. Yeah.
Speaking of zero sum games, the talent like war in tech,
so
that's
hot
real.
right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like
It's so
crazy.
hard to find like
Yeah.
really sharp, really good employees for your big tech company.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like, you know, one of my friends, you know, he's hiring like I think he has to fill 60 in a quarter. He's doing like 60 hires.
In a quarter?
And I'm just like, yeah, I'm like,
I'm
how
so
like,
sorry.
yeah.
That's a bad idea.
Like how do you
You just don't.
compete there? Like, yeah, it's like okay.
Your friend's gonna have likely a bunch of employees who may not be the best fit for his company.
Yeah,
Is
because
how
like you
I
just
would put that.
I don't see how you scale anyway, but yeah.
I wish him the best though. That's
do
actually
too.
a really interesting space. I have
guy.
like some interest in it.
Like hiring and recruiting and
Yeah, just like the tech recruiting space. It's fascinating. Yeah. It's all
It
about,
is.
you know, it's like about like it could be about, maybe it's not, but it could be about helping people kind of find their best potential lives, right?
yeah.
By getting them into the right places at the right time. It's interesting. Yeah.
It's I think the biggest and one of the harder parts that I find with the whole space, and I'm fascinated by it. Some anecdote though, like being in VC, very rarely do VCs ever want to touch HR technology, which is like really weird. Like it's just this strange. So like the world is kind of left with like PeopleSoft, like it was like built in the 60s for like employee management and stuff. And there's some cool stuff like Bamboo HR and some other tools have come out, but they pretty quickly become like the incumbent. And like you rarely want to switch them, and like especially the talent,
costs, I guess.
Yeah, the talent acquisition funnel is like most of the time it fits into a CRM. So people usually like use a Salesforce and they like make a process for talent acquisition in there, which is like not super conducive. But yeah, it's like this really weirdly inhumane process that like I've never really understood about talent acquisition. and like perhaps because I think about it differently, it's worked well for me. I feel like I've very rarely made a bad hire. I have, just by no stretch have I not made a bad hire. But like, it's just strange, and I'm like, and it's maybe it's because what we optimize for, but like I guess that's why it's so hard to build tools. Like, there's no standard operating procedure really for acquiring talent.
There could be, though, like better ones for specific roles. Like for me, it would be developer roles, right? Developer hiring.
You think that there's a standard procedure for hiring a developer?
I think there are
any company.
No. I think there are standard, maybe procedures that could fit into your customized thing.
Oh, okay.
But there's like standard, like sub procedures. I don't know.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, like do a test.
How do you do? Yeah. No, you'd think that that's dead obvious, right?
Yeah.
But it's not. Mm-hmm. And every company sort of slowly, my theory is that every company sort of struggles through how to do screening and like slowly eventually gets to roughly the same spot.
Yep.
So that's where I'd see an opportunity. It's like, look, we've done the research for you. We've figured it out. We kind of know. And then even screening, you'd be amazed. It's like, okay, well, we'll give them a little test of code, right? Seems obvious, right? But then you have all these endless debates on like, well, how hard or easy should the test be? What should we like, blah, 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 blah. And I'm confident it's a lot of bike shedding. I think an opinionated company, a recruiting company could come along and say, look, it's this. Yeah. Just do it. For like basic screening and then a few other parts of it. Because lots of tech companies are just reinventing this stuff for themselves. They think they're special. They're not. Right? Now, there's obviously, I think you're right. There'd have to be personalized things around sort of parts of it. Maybe another interesting take on this that I have that I'm convinced of, but you see it nowhere. So it might be, these are where you have those opportunities as an entrepreneur, right? It's when you feel like you know something no one else knows because no one's doing it. Is we should definitely be optimizing for getting people in as quickly as possible and being able to let them go as easily as possible.
Yes, and
we should not be doing these multi-day, multi-week, mega expensive hard filters that it's like you need to talk to everyone. You need to go through like multiple technical tests. You need to invest like days of your time and times of all the people on the team who are like, the company's paying a lot for like the time of dev leads and product managers and HR people and blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Let's like make this like really strong, super hard filter because we like care so much about who we hire. Caring so much about who you hire is a good thing. But that process is just fundamentally backwards. It's flawed. It's like it assumes you can know the future of this person if you like invest more time up front in the filtering.
Yeah, which is like, I mean,
think you can, and it's ridiculous. It should be like 1, 2, 3, you're hired, and then just as quick, it's like 1, 2, you're fired. Yeah, or like come up with a nicer word. It's like probation periods or whatever.
But no,
it's like
I'm gonna die on that hill. I'm gonna die on that hill. If you're not good, get fired. Understand you've been fired. Like this is still one of the things that really frustrates me in this world is like the number of people who've been laid off when it's like the term layoff means it's no fault of your own. And I have stressed it with a million friends, and I understand. I am by no stretch a psychologist or anything, right? But it's like I get how they relate it to themselves because that's just what you do as a human, especially high performers have internal locus of control. So they go, it must have been in my control. It like in some way I am, you know what I mean? And they feel this, and it's like, no, it's a layoff. Like it really didn't have to do with you. It had to do with your company's EBITDA and poor decision in 2016 to buy bonds, which are now operating at a negative threshold, and they don't, whatever. Some crazy thing happened. Like, fine. But if you've been fired, no, you've been fired. And learn. Just learn from it. Like get like it is so frustrating to me that I don't know, man. I feel like I could go on a crazy tear on this. It's like talent is super important. How they think, how you work, how you operate in a company, how your emotional state is, the like theory you have, your personal growth goals, all of this stuff is related to this like living organism that's a company and you and your symbiotic, maybe sometimes parasitical relationship that you guys have together, like whatever the thing is. And like, if you're not performing per the organization's requirements, like if you had an ant that didn't listen to the queen and was off foraying because it liked to explore, it's going to die and be fired from the colony. Like, it's fine. And it doesn't mean it did something wrong. Like, it's just so crazy to me. Like, I just get frustrated that everyone's so sensitive to that thing.
Right.
Like, I just don't understand. Like, I've been fired and I learned a lot from the experience.
Sure,
and it's like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Like, it was from a waiter job, and I was really young. But like,
You're a bit further along on the psychopath scale, though. So.
Maybe, yeah. I'm certainly more sociopathic. But like, no, like, I don't know.
Listen, I agree. Like, it shouldn't be sugar coated when it doesn't have to be.
Yeah,
I agree with that. I think we're grown ups.
Like, yeah,
we're all grown up working professionals. Like,
yeah.
Learn to take
feedback. You don't need some movie star, like someone walks my office and in 30 seconds I'm like, you're fired. Like that's not what I'm looking for. But like,
I know
your performance has been poor.
You're just saying it should be like clear that it was a result of like poor performance that the company is like letting you go, right? Yeah. But I think what I was talking about is more on like the intake sort of end of the spectrum, right?
Yeah, no, but I agree with you. You should hire quick.
So you should hire quick and fire
fast.
And that's where I was saying, like, I'm not sure if firing would be the best word even, because it's like, it's kind of like the difference between breaking up with your girlfriend,
right,
and just not voting to continue with someone that you've just like been together with like on 2 or 3 days.
Correct. Yeah,
right. I think there is a
100%.
difference there, and a difference in the language you would use. And that's how I'd imagine this. You know, I'm not thinking like fire quick, like period. I'm talking about fire quick, the new people who like you hired quick.
Yeah.
So it's like, I don't know if firing is the best language. Maybe it is, but
okay. I mean, I see
you're not lighting them on fire.
Yeah.
You're like,
it's obviously a
look.
personal...
We went on some dates, and it's just like, I want different things than you.
Yeah.
So thanks for your time.
Yep. No, I mean, I guess that's how I feel. Like my addendum to that is, if you're making your first hires, don't listen to my brother Adam and take a long time. Take a very long time. Is my opinion.
Yeah. I'm thinking
so that's
of
my
like
only caveat on this
TA funnel.
Like your first hire, like take a long time.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like
sure,
you want to like, this is my, right? And then, you get to like,
I don't know, maybe not. Maybe I should
not. Your theory might prove out. But like, I'm just saying, like in my opinion, as a early team, so like for me, we have three full-time people. We're crack-a-lacking on Codex. My first hire will be very slow, and every one of the partners will be involved, and we're going to have big expectations and stuff. And when I say slow, I mean, it'll be like a week or 2 weeks, but it's going to take a couple meetings, a couple interactions, and like all that stuff. And certainly I will fire them fast if it doesn't fit, but like take longer because the cost. The Andreessen Horowitz did a calculation a long time ago, and I still use it colloquially, but they estimate a founder's time at $10,000 an hour because that's what their opportunity is. So if your opportunity cost of your entire founder just having one 1 hour meeting with this person is $30,000 to your business, like spend it wisely and just pay attention. Obviously, the inverse to that is don't spend that money, just hire them and fire them, I guess. But like it just doesn't.
Well, that's just it. I'm not following your logic here. It's like,
well, your time's
just told
expensive.
Me that the expense, like the cost of all your founding team's time is like $30,000 an hour.
Yeah, so the investment in training this first hire is going to be very high, and you will spend that time regardless of a fast hire or a slow hire because you must train them, you must teach them, you've got to get them into it. So I think a higher investment up front into filtering who comes in, and you spend the like 2 weeks pair programming with them. Like, you need to be a little more certain than just being like, cool, come on in, you had a fun project, and I'll just fire you really quick. Like, I don't think it makes sense.
I got to push back here. This isn't making sense to me, actually.
All right.
And I'm talking about hiring employees. We're going to keep it at that. We're not going to talk about partnerships and founding partners. Like, the cost of your training. Actually, you should be very interested in this because you're building a product whose like value proposition is lowering the cost of training.
Yeah.
So this is actually super relevant to you, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's say that the cost of training for you right now when you hire is 2 weeks of time from the founding team.
Sure.
Okay. Or maybe it takes 2 weeks and it's like about half your time. I don't know, whatever, but it's 2 weeks, right?
Okay.
So let's say you want to hire slow, right?
Yeah.
You would spend, say, 4 weeks having occasional meetings and really vetting and talking through this person's possible fit with the company, right? You would draw it out. So now we're talking, like, let's just say it's like however much time it takes for 4 weeks, plus then it's 2 weeks of training time. And then after the training and onboarding, it's not until then that you can actually start knowing anything about whether they really fit, right? Mm-hmm. Would you agree with that? Like training time, the 2 weeks someone's training is going to look the same for almost anyone.
I disagree.
Okay.
And it's only because I'm indexing on other things, not just work capability, but culture fit, which is extremely important to me at early stages.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And in training, you will see a lot about the ins and outs, how they work, how they think, how they communicate, and their general understanding. And I would possibly remove them within that 2 weeks if it's a non-fit on that area.
Okay. I agree with that. I would say, though, that story, that like 2 weeks of training where you're teaching them just the basic mechanics of the company, getting them aligned on vision, and doing culture fit, my proposition is that's going to take roughly the same amount of time and like cost, risk, whatever, for any candidate, whether you spent 4 weeks in advance vetting them or one.
Okay.
I don't think it's going to, the shape of that's going to be very different.
Okay. Yeah. Not materially. Sure.
I don't think an extended like extra vetting on the hiring thing, it actually, I'm wrong. I'd say maybe it would get you more of the culture fit in advance.
I think it does.
But then you just shifted the time forward. You didn't actually save it, right? It's like you're going to spend it while they're onboarding and the training or not. Either way, it's like the same number of hours of the founder's time to do culture fit.
I disagree.
Not like savings. So you think you'll get cheaper culture fit? You're saying you're going to get savings on culture fit, like cost savings of cost of culture fit decision will go down if you have an extended amount of time with the person before you hire them.
Yes.
How is that possible?
Because I'm thinking about not just first degree, but like second degree and third degree outcomes of having a bad culture fit come into your business. So like, if I'm the first interview for everybody at our company till I get to whatever 50 employees because I interview for culture fit, like that's my thing. I interview for vision and culture fit because I'm the CEO. Like, let's pretend that's the game. Not many people will pass my culture fit interview, and I've therefore saved all of the time thereafter. So in this like process I have or whatever, earlier I did say like hire slow, but I don't mean over like the heuristic of time. I just mean multiple interactions, and I believe that you can execute a hire in a week, and you should be able to, and you should do that because it's right for the people who are interviewing, like your interviewees as well. It's better for them. This whole 4 week nonsense is nonsense, whatever to the other people. I guess if you're going to go be the CMO of a globally traded Fortune 500, fine. It probably takes months, but like whatever. Those are rare situations. And I really believe that like I will have a cheaper cultural thing because if I do a fast hire of a really bad culture fit and this person comes in and we think during the 2 week period we're going to learn more, what will actually happen is demoralization of my team because we have such like I mean, I'm being extreme, but like a bad culture fit, like, and it will just lead to so many other costs on the company.
Right.
And at the early stage, which is the one I'm advocating even more on this, like that is even more painful and apparent that if someone's taking time away from other workers and in a way that's not that valuable, like it just, I don't know, it snowballs the cost.
Right.
Perceived and unperceived.
No, that makes sense. I think in terms of whether it's a fast hire or slow hire, you and I are like actually don't even know what that means. We're kind of splitting hairs on like,
Sure.
So it's like, who cares? Forget about that. But I think you're right. And I think the premise I would base my idea on which is like this idea of letting people in a little quicker,
Yeah.
it would require a very fundamental change in what happens once someone's there.
Right. Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Because just letting someone in quicker and changing nothing about how the company operates once they have a new employee would be a disaster for the reason you just outlined. It's like morale would go down and people would have wasted time and have this sense of like a real sense of I wasted my time.
Yeah.
Right. So it would require tweaking, I think, and change of like the actual operations of the company.
Yeah.
And maybe that morale effect is actually huge. And maybe that's the reason I never see anyone do this. Maybe a bunch of people actually have tried this. And it's like, look, it's just in the nature of human beings that they feel like really biased towards making this relationship work once someone's hired.
I think it's actually a cognitive bias. I don't remember the name of it though. Yeah.
If that's loss aversion. Yeah.
It's loss aversion, but it's also sunk cost fallacy
multiplied by
a few others. Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. So maybe that's the reason hiring is the way it is. And
loss aversion. And there's something else though. It's something about like just not being wrong, right? Like you've made a very important decision. And there's another side of it though, is like,
see, that's the thing. This whole new way of building would have to reframe what the decision is and when it's made now, right?
Yes.
It's like, no, it's not an important decision that we gave them a contract and hired them. That's not the important decision. The important decision is, does this person, does this relationship maximize their personal goals and the company's goals? That's the decision.
Yep.
And the decision can't be made properly until you have more information, which you can't get till they're butts in the chair working with the team on a real thing. Right.
And to agree, and one slight addendum on this exact flow is you also can't get the high quality information you require to know if they're a good fit, because during the hiring process, you have a best actor because they are always going to be on best behavior. I just like that's the even more part for me. Yeah, it's like hire faster.
It's not only hard to get the information, it's like actually there's like red hair,
literally obfuscating
like outright wrong stuff.
Yeah, there are misaligned incentives. Like, and that's what's so weird is like, obviously you feel like there's an alignment because it's like this new talent wants to join and get paid in order to create value at your business. And you're both like, yes, value together. But the reality is they're also like, I need a job and I want a job. And like, I'm going to do everything I can to make that seem like I'm like, in.
Well, let's hope that I figure out how to make money someday. And then I figure out how to make enough of it that I need to hire someone. And then I can try this wild other way and be the guinea pig, and I'll share the results.
Yo, I'm down. I'm in the same boat, man. I'll see how it goes.
To be clear, I am definitely not for like zero filtering. I think there's absolutely there's a filtering process.
Of course.
When you said you could do it in a week, that seems pretty sane to me.
Yeah.
That's good. But it's like, there's obviously filtering. Like, it's not just like wide open door. First person who shows up on Monday is like the employee.
You're in.
And then, okay,
here's your laptop.
I would ask some questions, I guess.
I mean, of course. But I mean, it is really interesting to me. I mean, I love back to our man, Jason Fried there. I like their theory, which is like they always do a paid engagement. That's like one of their hiring principles at 37 Signals.
It's like literally this idea, right? Just under
but my only problem though is
them really working for real with the team.
But it has it has an intrinsic biasing though to that system because like let me throw some facts here. One, other than rare situations, the best talent that you probably want, especially at your earliest hire, is likely gainfully employed and happy. This is one of my beliefs.
I completely agree.
Other than rare situations.
To find the best people on earth, you got to steal them from someone else.
They're probably doing something. Yeah. Just saying.
Yeah.
So like,
not
how
always,
do you get
there's like rare.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Of course. There's situations where someone's, no, for sure. And like, I don't know what the percentage is, but there's something there. So there's that belief. So if that's true, and I believe this thesis to be true, the like Fried and Basecamp method becomes problematic because you're asking someone who's gainfully employed that you want to come join you to also take on a paid project, which is already has an inherent bias because many people in this world don't have the time. Like
No,
they're
they don't.
working a
Yeah.
full-time job, they
Yeah.
have a family, they've got children they're raising, and
Yeah.
they're like, wait, you need me to do a 6-hour paid engagement with your team now too?
Right.
Like, how am
Right.
I going to pull that off and
It's
like
hard. Yeah.
not be disrespectful to my current employer, but also give you the
Yeah.
best of me to validate that I'm the person that you want
Right.
while managing my life priorities. And so therefore the hiring system and the whole thing in my mind, as much as I was like this kind of jerk over here saying like, oh, fire fast, it's like a very inhumane thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's super weird. Like we're like
Mm-hmm.
dance monkey, do this thing, prove you should be paid what you're asking me. And like, a bunch of other biases. It's just really weird. But I
It's
don't
really
have a better
complicated,
answer.
man. I don't either.
So like,
Yeah,
I'm just sitting here going like,
and
I'm
this is
pointing
such
out
a good
flaws.
point you just
Yeah.
brought up, because I mean that might invalidate my whole idea completely, right?
Yeah.
Because how am I gonna? Let's say I wanted to do my new thing.
Yeah.
How am I gonna possibly position that for people who I actually want, who are already employed?
Yeah.
Right? It's asking a lot. It's like, are you willing to cut ties with this other company to come
Yep.
do this thing with me, which is basically you're kind of like instantly in and on probation for a while, and
Yeah,
I could
like
let
3
you
months or
go
whatever,
like
yeah.
in a minute.
Yeah.
It's like people aren't gonna respond.
It's a
Like
weird
they
power
want
dynamic.
commitment, right? They want commitment from the other company to be ensured they're gonna have like a nice home there,
Yep.
because they're gonna have to do that very tricky flip, which is like
Mm-hmm.
saying you're done one place and starting a new thing in a new place. It's a big deal. It's a big moment in people's lives, and it's like
Yeah.
super difficult. So it's like
I
I
almost
can
want
kind
to
of
pilot
see why
something.
you just have to be like, yeah, we're gonna just do our best and interview you 20 times and then make the decision, and it's
Yeah.
too bad. Like, I don't know.
I would really love to see. I have no idea if anyone's done this. I want to look this up, but I have this fun thesis I'd like to test one day. But like, build a hiring tool. But the whole tool, all it is like a 1-to-1 between the company that's hiring and the interviewee, where they build the hiring process together.
It's a good design
So
challenge.
it like literally, yeah, just imagine this though, like a drag and drop block builder that builds like a workflow that just goes from left is like net new candidate to the right is hired, and they drag blocks in that says I will do the code test, I will do the culture interview, and the company gets to put 2 and the worker gets to put 2. And just the way that they build it and the things they want to be tested on would be like input to the hiring, which would be kind of funny, but it would be cool too, because as much as we're talking about as a business owner, blah, 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 like as a potential hire, you also want to interview the company. You want to go in there. You want to have the culture meeting and be like, are these people all, kind of not good or good or whatever? So it's kind of cool to see people ask that. Anyway, I don't know. It would probably fail miserably, but I'd love to test it. Because I think high performers would love that.
This whole thing is screwed, man. It's a
Yo,
mess.
it's so
I
broken.
can see now why no one wants VCs don't want to get
This
here.
is why.
I'm trying to talk myself out of it too over the course of this. But I'm thinking about negotiations, right? And like,
Yeah.
I learned a little bit about negotiating like a couple of years ago. I finally started like reading up on it a bit, and
Oh, yeah.
like the fundamental sort of primary axiom or whatever.
Yeah.
It's too many words, but the main point of negotiation is all about who holds what information.
Correct.
And to win a negotiation, you should, in general, always win a negotiation if it's competitive. If you have more information.
Yep.
That's the idea. Whoever has the most information can almost always sort of come out on top in a negotiation.
Yeah.
And obviously a hiring flow is a negotiation between an individual who's going to contract out their time permanently for a salary.
Yep.
And you're screwed, man. HR departments have all the information and they will never give you any of it. I'm sorry. You are done. It is like, we are screwed. You have no hope against HR departments. They are just like the pinnacle of like corporate information holders.
It's like the
and
Eye of
it's all
Sauron.
held tight to the chest, and you get none of it. And it's like, too bad.
It's so true. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, everyone, right now who's looking to get a job. I'm so sorry. I guess my tips, if you're looking for a job, are like ask for a ridiculous amount of money, like way more than you think.
Yeah.
whatever amount you think. Think of how much you want, however much you think. Add a bit more until you feel uncomfortable, and when you get to that moment of like, I can't possibly ask for this. Once you hit that number, add another 15% on top of that, and then
I hope I don't have to hire any of the. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, if anyone's ever trying to get a job from Brandon, talk to me first, and I'll tell you everything about what he can do, what his weak spots are, and how much money you should ask for. Sorry,
That's true,
bro.
Yeah, no, it's fine. It's fair game.
Oh man,
fair game. If I hold all the information, they have the right. But this is why, like, yeah, when you get into more senior roles and stuff, like, you know, when I've been on the interviewing side, like, I ask like pretty strict questions and stuff, and like I have straight up asked,
what's your favorite interview question?
What's your
favorite one as an interviewer?
Interviewer. Oh,
what's your favorite question?
Favorite question is, in the last 24 hours, what was the most interesting thing in your opinion that you did that isn't related to work?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So I asked you the question, bro, for the sake of this.
What's the most interesting thing I did in the last 24 hours?
Yeah, in your opinion. In your opinion. So don't do some like, you know, you don't need to be like, yeah, okay.
It's the hard part of this question is remembering the last 24 hours.
Yes, true.
That's
true. Like, especially during COVID. Time is weird for everybody right now, but yeah.
Actually, I know my answer, but I can't say it on a podcast.
Oh, okay. What's your second?
I'll think of my second.
This is getting really...
It was... I don't know. I guess I'm not interesting. See, I've already failed this interview.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Brutal.
But, like, I'll let you keep thinking about it while I talk. That says a lot to me. Like, that's why I love it. You took a long time. So, like, the answers already going through my head for culture fit are, like, deep thinker, pontificates, maybe doesn't like to be wrong, so I got to watch out for that. Might be a perfectionist. Definitely like but like there's just so much that goes into that, like, because the point is, like, the answer doesn't matter. Obviously, when you give it, if you said I made a beef Wellington with my wife, like, we decided we're gonna make something weird and like from scratch, that says a ton to me. It's like, oh, they like chef things, and that like, it's like meticulousness, probably attention to detail, like whatever. And like, when you say you found it interesting, it says a lot about the human to me as well. So that's why it's something in my culture fit. Yeah. And if someone literally sits there and is like, oh, nothing really, like, because some people have answered, like, they're really quick on it. They're like, nothing. I don't know. It's only 24 hours. Like, what did I do in 24 hours? I'm like, oh, okay. You're probably, and no offense, but it's like you might be a B player because you're steady state. You like to show up. You like to get it done, probably, but like, you don't find, like, you're not curious. Because anyone who's curious is usually like, oh, I did this thing. Yeah, or like, they have something. Yeah. Like, you know, I competed in a video game with my friends. I'm like, cool. Anyway, I could just feel, I always get a ton out of it.
Yeah, I can totally see that. I think it's a really good question. I thought of my second most interesting.
Here we go.
It was when I was outside playing with the girls and actually talking to you on the phone at the same time. And it was interesting because it was, this awesome
would hire you.
But also, it was when I hung out with you, buddy.
Wow.
It was a great conversation.
It was.
But it was in an interesting context, right? Because I'm also like, we're talking about some pretty deep stuff, some tough problems. So that part of my brain's lit up.
Yeah.
But I was also like watching Audrey like be an absolute fool with like the melting puddles and like moving my daughters in and out of the tree a lot.
Yeah.
And trying to walk through deep snow in my Crocs, which was certainly interesting. That didn't work at all.
Amazing.
But it was definitely that. That was a good moment.
That was actually really fun. That was the highlight of my last 24 hours for sure.
My top question, and it's the single, I think maybe one of the only questions I ask in every single interview is, what do you want to learn next?
Oh.
What are you hoping to learn?
Chef kiss.
Yeah.
That's really good.
It's simple.
I'm going to actually try to answer it just because it's only fair.
Yeah. What are you hoping to learn in, what are you hoping to learn right now? Or like once you come here?
Fair enough.
I usually don't frame it that way. I usually don't frame it as like, what are you hoping to learn at Shopify? Or what are you hoping to learn at Sword and Source? I don't frame it that way. I always frame it like, What are you hoping to learn next?
That's cool though, because it immediately I mean anyway I'll give you my answers, but I immediately went to two answers, which is like a work related one and then like a life related one.
Right.
Though they're obviously kind of intertwined, but like
Yeah.
from my personal pursuits, I want to learn to be more of a chef, and I mean like chef. Like I want to learn knife skills. I want to
Sweet.
learn. I was thinking about it the other day when I
You
was
should
packing
talk
up
to
my books.
Amanda.
Yeah, because Amanda gave me this amazing book, Salt, Fat,
Unbelievably
Acid,
good.
Heat,
Oh, that book's
which
so
is
good.
like
Yeah.
it fundamentally changed the way I started thinking about things. But I've never
Cookbook recommendation, people.
get it.
Salt,
Watch.
fat,
They also have
acid,
a
heat.
Netflix show now where you can watch that to get a
Beautiful.
primer on it.
No, it's
4
watering.
episodes on each of the topics. But yeah, like it's like that book like really ignited something for me. But always in my life, I feel like I've been quote unquote too busy with work to like get into it. And lately, I've been watching tons of anime that's like cooking anime because it's like huge.
You
Like
watching Food
Shokugeki
Wars?
no Soma and like all this other stuff.
Yeah,
Dude, that is the most ridiculous show of all time, by the way.
Yeah.
Don't watch it, listeners, unless you understand what fan service means. It's like a whole joke. But anyway, there's a bunch of other ones like Cooking Master and all these other ones. But like the short story is like I'm now in a place where like the idea of spending a bunch of time figuring out how to like dice vegetables better sounds really exciting to me. Like the focus, like the attention, like all that stuff. So I really want to learn to do that.
Sure,
Plus,
yeah.
my life, I think, would be greatly improved in terms
Learning
of
how to
the
cook
quality
is,
I eat.
yeah, definitely one of the best life hacks you could
Yeah.
ever have. Yeah.
Save a bunch of money. You'll be healthier. Like there's so many things.
You'll
Work
just
wise,
live a better day every day because you're eating better food. I love
Right.
I love food. I love eating.
Food's
sorry.
the best,
It's just
man. Yeah.
Amazing.
I'm with you. So cooking is probably would be my catch-all answer. If I had to think about work right now, it's design. I really want to figure out. I listened to this podcast by BJ Fogg. It was the podcast is done by NFX, which has quickly become like my favorite content producers in the founder tech kind of world.
Oh, cool.
It's a new fund.
They're like a
It's the letters
podcast. Oh, it's a fund,
NFNX.
okay.
Yeah, it's a venture capital fund. They do a bunch of other. Anyway, they're really cool. And one of my, I guess, friends and people I look up to, she joined as a partner, and I was like, oh, I should pay attention. And they're like, anyway, it's amazing.
Yeah.
I've now belabored this so long. I'm talking about NFX. I forget what I was saying.
What do you want to learn? You said
Yeah,
design.
I want to learn.
really
Thank
said
you.
this.
There is an episode with BJ Fogg on behavioral design. And so he was one of the people at the catalyst of the creation of design thinking. And he actually taught two of the people who created Stanford's D school, so the design school. And he was always a part of it. He's been a professor, probably emeritus at like Stanford forever. And but now he's getting into behavioral design. So design thinking came as like, let's call it a foundational concept now. Like design thinking exists. Cool. And then people put service design on top of it, which was this idea of like, design actually starts way earlier, like from brand to walking into the Starbucks to getting the coffee. Like it's all a service design process. And now he's like, well, there's also behavioral design, which he just released a book called Tiny Habits. And it's on this like
level.
this like very deep level, and just his work. And like, it's crazy to hear someone talk that they've studied for 20 years to understand behavior. And they knew that there were two components to it. And then when he found the third component, he was just like, it can't be this easy. And he was like frustrated by how simple the answer was to human behavior, like at its most core or whatever, that to the point that he did all these extra studies to prove that it's only three things or whatever.
Man.
Anyway, I'm obsessed with it.
Modern era trap.
Yeah. And I really want to go deeper into that and like improve my skill sets around that. I think I'm an excellent, design thinker, like just design thinking and strategy and everything, but I have no implementation skill sets. I can't draw anything. I can wireframe on Figma because I buy great Figma packs from way smarter people than me, and I can make the lines and everything's fine. But like, I would like to get way deeper into that, especially because I think it's incredibly relevant to Codex.
For sure. Yeah.
Like, behavior change. Try and make someone do something. Good luck.
Well, that's really
well. He straight up said you can't do that. If they don't want to do it, you can't do it. Period. And like
exactly
40 years of research.
That's kind of step one is really hard, and something I've struggled with is you really do have to fix the motivation first. Like you have to be motivated to change.
There's also a lot of
what happens
amazing theory on motivation.
Yeah. But what I've struggled with in my life and changing my habits and things is what happens when the motivation's not there. So actually, I have the perfect example of this from my own life, which is
Yeah.
mindfulness meditation.
Yes.
There is no doubt in my mind, having listened to many people talk about it, right?
Yep.
That practicing mindfulness and training my attention
Yep.
is one of the best investments I could possibly make in my life. It's like
Yep.
on par or superior even to like cooking skills, right? This is just
Yeah.
like a
Right.
fundamentally high leverage, tremendously valuable, important thing to do. And
Yep.
yet, I'm not motivated to do it. I don't have that ephemeral, hard to describe, whatever, inner fire, that
Yep.
thing that's pushing me uh, every day to like do that practice, right?
Yep.
And so it's like I'm at the point for sure with that where it's like I either need to completely forget about it and just who cares? I'm
Yep.
mindful enough. You get a bit of mindfulness, right? As a parent,
Yep.
you just automatically.
Well, yeah.
So it's like, okay, whatever. Just accept that's as good as I'm ever going to be. Or I need to like hack my motivation there and like figure out like, okay, well, how am I framing this for myself that is not making me motivated? And how can I
Right.
reframe it or rethink it or understand how to change motivations?
Yeah.
I don't think you probably can change that magic inner motivation spark. You probably just
Short
have to
story, no.
reframe the thing so that it's pointing. It's like you're moving the target so that it's in front of where the cannon was already pointed. You're just like,
Right.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a tough one.
That is something that I've struggled with a ton and I've read a lot about. And the short stories are no, you can't just get motivated. Like you can't really work it. Like it's not
Right.
something that
I
like
don't think you
humans can
can.
like
Yeah.
you
But
know,
I think
structure
motivations
to.
can change. But the
Oh
question
yeah.
is how and what changes them, right?
Yeah, well, and most of the research that we have today, and again, BJ Fogg on that. So go to NFX, listen to the BJ Fogg interview. It's an hour long. It's amazing. Just go through the whole thing. Seriously, whole thing. But in it, he talks about that as well, and is like motivation based on what we can understand right now is just a fickle beast, and it comes for a bunch of reasons, and mostly it's because some future goal is pulling you, and that's why you feel the motivation.
Right.
So, but like the easiest example is pretty much, I mean, actually a famous bodybuilder said, he said, everybody wants to be a bodybuilder, but ain't nobody want to lift no heavy ass weights. Like, and it's
Exactly.
like,
Yeah.
yep. Like, you know, yeah. Like, so they talk a lot, and that's why that's a huge study for motivation. Is like, why are you not motivated to go to the gym?
Right.
And anyway, the layer below is basically always comes down as like, well, if you want an outcome, it's more about structuring routine and habit. And below that level is this behavior design, because behavior design influences your habit loops, and those habit loops influence routines, and routines are what truly get you to the successful place you need to be. So relating it all the way back to your statement about mindfulness, which, by the way, same interview, there's a whole talk on mindfulness where he's like, basically, he's like, look, it's cool, but like, you don't need to meditate. And he explains why, just as another side note. But it all comes down to this like very foundational theory of like what you said, reframing thinking is a huge component of it. So for me, I always, when I first got my dog, I thought walks were a chore. Like you walk a dog, it's your chore. Like you got to do it every day. The dog needs a walk, right?
Yeah.
And like often I would even get into like partner disputes. Like I'd be like, oh, you haven't walked the dog in like 4 days. Like I know
classic.
you're working, I'm working. What the
Fighting over
heck?
who's
Like
gonna take the dog out.
yeah,
It's
right.
classic,
Like it's like
classic,
I've been
yeah.
doing it.
Everyone
I just want to
does that.
break. Like whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then I just reframed it. It was like now I take my dog on an adventure, and his name's Pippin after Peregrine took the Hobbit.
Yeah,
and I
so-
just think it's hilarious that I'm on an adventure with my
Like,
buddy.
na-na-na-na-na.
Yeah, like you walk outside, and I'm like, "What are we gonna smell today, Pippin?" Like another dog's butt.
That's a great reframe. Like,
But it worked
yeah.
straight up.
I think that for me is the important layer and the hardest one to solve is that basic layer, because I'm personally quite good at the rest. Like I understand how to form new habits and be like routine driven and like systems driven. Like that's how I always operate.
Yeah,
But I completely fail if I don't have that basic fire underneath, right? It's like if I just don't want to do it, I'm just not going to do it. I think a lot of people are that way. One thing I think about mindfulness meditation too is, and based on what I understand about humans, is it's like I think it's so much easier when there's obvious pain that you
Yes.
can. It's like you were talking about a goal pulling you towards it, but there's also
Hmm.
running away from pain, right?
Yep.
Which humans are very good at, and it's very
Hmm.
easy. Um, and so when it comes to getting in shape, for example, this one's easier for me because I like daily feel pain and
Yeah.
see and can visually see tangible results of like poor eating and poor exercise, right?
Right.
If
Yep.
I'm not taking care of myself, I look bad, I look
Yep.
fatter,
Yep.
and and I can't keep up with my kids.
Yep.
Like they're pushing me every day, pick me up, move me here, chase me here, do
Yeah.
this, right? It's like physically demanding, and if I'm like out of breath and like all my joints are sore and stuff, and I'm like that
Yeah.
sucks.
Yep.
And that's a powerful motivator. It's so present and obvious,
Yeah.
and you feel it, and it's like I need to get this pain gone, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
Just like you'd be very motivated to move your hand away from a fire, right? It's like
Oh yeah.
everyone's motivated to
Yeah.
do that.
Yeah.
But mindfulness, it's kind of slippery, right? It's pretty
Yeah.
far in the future. I've heard from people who practice it that once you get through the hump, you actually do really see the results and the change in yourself. And I'm
Yes.
like, I've never got there, maybe. So it's just like there's no, you know what I mean? There's no short
Yeah.
feedback loop for me, or like I'm not. There's no really specific pain I can feel that I'm running away from.
Yeah.
Like I probably am
I
distracted all the time, but distraction is like invisible, right? You automatically are just distracted and
well,
thinking
yeah.
about
I
other
mean,
things. And so
yeah.
it's, it's harder to really quantify and feel motivated about.
Here's so I have a stance on this, and I think it's because I've also looked at it so much. But like a component of it is for you, I believe you do practice mindfulness and like on a daily and probably very consistent basis.
Yeah, I think you're
And
right.
and that but like that's the kind of kernel in this is like it's obviously easier for everyone to be like, yo, you should meditate. And yes, you should. 2 minutes a day. Just do it. Just do it. Whatever. Cool. Please, if you're listening to this podcast, try it. Do it. Seriously. Use all the free apps. There's so many that will help you. But like mindfulness is also being a musician, sitting down and plucking at your guitar for like 10 minutes.
Yep.
It's just the idea that you are making yourself focus on something while also having other ideas come through. So a lot of my meditation, like especially as it's getting warmer, is on a jog.
Right.
I'm addicted to jogging. And I got really addicted to it when I was like, my company was failing back in like 2014, 2015, to the point of like literally causing harm to my body. Remember how skinny I was? Terrifying. Because the jog is a way for me to process thoughts and stuff and like let things come and go and like whatever. And like that is mindfulness. Because all it is that moment where like it helps with weight loss too, right? Like you just need to catch thoughts. That's all you're trying to learn to do.
Right.
So when you get in a heated debate and something really bad happens and you're about to say something really wrong, you catch it and you're like, oh, I just need to give this a second and not say that. And like your life improves. Literally. You don't eat the donut because you're stressed, because you catch yourself, like your life improves. And like that's all it is. And my thing is, if you want to figure out if you have bad attention, is like open your iPhone and go to the setting for screen time and see what your daily average is.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah. That's a
It's like one of the best ways that I've found with people. Like, and I've got friends who, I mean, sometimes it makes sense if you don't have a device at home to like watch Netflix. So you watch it on your phone. Obviously, it'll be higher and like forgive yourself. It's fine. But like, I've got friends who've got like 12 hours a day average on their phone. My usual average for me is about 2 hours and 5 minutes a week is like my daily average.
Nice.
And yeah, I've had it down to an hour, but that's because I'm traveling. Back when we could travel, let me be clear. But like, yeah, but like, I mean, I have a device. I'm obviously on a computer all the time. I work here. I watch TV on like a TV, not on my phone. But yeah, like I can put my phone on do not disturb. I can literally leave it in my house for probably like, I could leave my phone behind for a very long time. I can't, quote unquote, because of work reasons, but like I put it on do not disturb and I go out for hours and I come back to it. And for some people, like they literally have it's called techneurosis or something like that, and they start to like shake if they don't have their device with them.
Right, they're stressed. Yeah,
They have physical symptoms of not being connected to the to
that's just
break that. That's
unsettling. Bad.
Yeah, it was a bit of a tirade, but yes, mindfulness, do it. Very good.
I'm not going to tell people to do it. I can't fucking do it. So
I think you're doing it.
yeah, but I'm not like using the apps and whatever.
So,
But yeah,
like, you think like Seneca was busting out his mobile app?
No,
Like, I'm
not.
pretty sure,
Of course not.
he was fine. Anyway, but
Okay.
Yeah.
I gotta go. I think
fair enough.
start the day.
Sounds good.
Thanks
Well, it was
for
great
the
chatting.
wide ranging conversation.
Yeah. Apparently, I'm in like a zone right now on these topics, so I'm gonna like see where
Yeah.
that takes me.
Yeah, keep the flow going, man.
Heck yeah. All right. Well, thank you, brother. Talk to you soon.
Yeah. See ya.